Fortis, and today we're going to be making a wreath, particularly focusing around pink ice protea. I have a couple other additions to help spruce up the wreath there. I have Santolina, or lavender cotton. I have Moon Lagoon eucalyptus, so this is the floral grade eucalyptus. I have acacia, or pearl acacia. This is the blue flower, or the blue leafed yellow flowering variety. And then I also had some melaleuca, just some nice long strands of green to help add some size there. And so first things first, you want to typically prep your bundles. You can see here, I just took some green vinyl ties and I went ahead and attached that to the Proteas. And you get this nice clean bundle there, and this will allow you to get some clean repetition through your wreath. Now, I also have a couple of additions just for the extra holiday touch. I have some pine cones. These are scented, so got these out of the craft store. They're really nice. Aside from these materials here, a couple other things that you might want to have is wire that's going to help mount your portions onto your wreath, and also a couple bits of ribbon for a personal touch. Then of course just cutting tools to make sure that you're able to do what you need to do. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just rearrange these parts out here. There we go, just so it looks nice and pretty there. So this is our frame. You typically get this out of the craft store. I think this was like $5 at Michael's, so pretty good deal there. So you want to have your nice frame here, set sturdy, and you're going to want to get a length of wire ready. Typically not as tangled as this, but you're going to have to work with what you got. Okay, let's see. Let's move these goes over there, and set the wire over here. Okay. So first things first is you want to set this initial wire right through one of the loops. You'll see that there are actually portions that are connecting the rest of them here. And you're just going to connect that loop right here. We're just going to bring that in a little closer so you can see. That'll help set the first loop in. You're going to go through the back, into the front. Now it doesn't matter how you proceed, you just want to stay consistent, okay? So, let's get out of the seat here. And let's start with the one with the melaleuca in it. So, from looking at the portions, all of the Proteas had a slight kind of nod to their head, so that's going to help add to the curvature of the wreath there. So I'm just going to go ahead and line it up as to where I see the vinyl right there. Put my hand right over that, making sure that it's very sturdy. Okay, so back, come around the front here. I guess they're real tight, real tight. None of these portions should be loose. They should all be very tight. And the tighter your wreath is, the better it's going to look at the end. So, there we go. I typically do about 2 to 3 loops. That'll just make sure nothing is moving anywhere else. And then before we move on to the next one, we're going to go ahead and grab the next thing. So, we've already done the melaleuca. So let's go ahead and set that aside. We're going to go ahead and get some blue in here, kind of spruce it up a little bit. Right there. So we want to do the math, kind of get some equal division here. So we're expecting to have, I have a dozen here that I got out of the yard. And so we're expecting to have about 6 on each side. So you want to be able to prepare yourself for that kind of distribution there. So we're going to go ahead and do that wrapping again. So that's 1. Pull it nice and tight. 2. Right there. And we can do a third one right here. Just keep in mind you want to have enough wire for everything. It's not really good to run out mid-project, so make sure you're well prepped. So I'm not going to go with the blue pearl acacia because that's going to be too much blue in this particular section. We want to make sure it's nice and balanced. So I'm going to go ahead and add the lavender cotton right here. Okay, we're going to make sure that the flower spacing is even. That's the most important thing, is you want to make sure everything looks nice and even and intentional. Okay. I'll do 2 rounds here. are looking good. So that's our 3 loops right there. Okay, so now with one of each already on here, let's see if we're missing any of the other groups. Nope, we're looking good. So that's going to set a quarter of our wreath right here. Now we're just going to go ahead and repeat this. So now we can go back to the Melaleuca here. So, and typically too, I would just do a little rotation there. There you go. Remember, your highlight is the actual Proteas themselves. You don't want to do too much covering. We'll do some micro adjusting right at the end there. Let's see, so we're going to go ahead and put this one right like that. Okay, so that's going to be 1, 2, and 3. Nice and sturdy. So next one here, always refer back. You can use that to tell you what was the next on the sequence right there. So we're going to go ahead and keep in mind too, we want to try to fluff things out a little bit, cover up the vinyl there. So that's going to be 1, 2, pull it tight, 3. Okay, cut out just a little bit there. We're going to go ahead and resume. So we're going to go ahead and do our 3 loops again. 1, 2, and 3. And I intentionally left this wire here this particular length because more often than not, you're going to run out of wire. So we're going to go ahead and loop that wire through the frame here just to set it. And there's no real way to get this wrong here. You just want to make sure it's real sturdy and doesn't poke anyone when anyone's handling this. Okay. Okay. There we go. Nice and sturdy. You can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that is going to so far be about half of our frame here. So looking really good so far. We're going to go ahead and complete the rest here. So we're going to keep turning it. Okay. So really, really nice. Okay, so the next thing on here would be the pearl acacia. Okay, so let's see. Oh, it looks like, oh dang, I think I missed one of them on there. So let's go ahead and backtrack. Okay, so after some looking over, it looks like I missed one of the bundles. So I went ahead and disassembled the wire and just included that one there. You can see it was the pearl acacia that was missing there. So I went back. So we're back to where we were with the midpoint there. So we're going to go ahead and continue on the rest of the wreath here. I'm focused on keeping that kind of circular look of the wreath there. Okay, making sure that all the flowers are still wrapping around really nicely. I'm going to go ahead and start here. So we're going to take the wire and we're going to go ahead and mount it in again right here. So we're going to make sure that this is real nice and sturdy. We don't want anything of this falling apart. This is a really nice fresh wreath, but this is something that we can definitely have for years going on as a dried wreath. So you want to make sure everything is on here nice and sturdy. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do that wrapping. So I've started with a little bit of a longer length here. So we're going to make sure this leaf nice and on there. Perfect. So keeping in mind we want the Protea to be the star. So right there. Okay, sometimes it can get a little tricky there, but as soon as you got it right, you just pull it real tight there. And then by the second loop, you're in. Okay. I know some people have those wire kits or that wire holder that you can unfurl real easily. That's always a fun way to do it. I was just using something that I had here accessible to me. Okay, so the pattern, Melaleuca, Eucalyptus, Santolina, and now it's the Acacia. So Just cutting out some of the repetition here from just wiring these sections together. We're doing our last piece here. Now, you do notice that there is 1/4, maybe 1/5 of this wreath still just hanging out. It's not affixed with a portion yet. Now, what we are intending to do with that is we're going to first affix the wire here. So we're going to give it another loop here. Just make sure it's nice and sturdy. Okay. We're going to come through and just make sure it's real tight. I don't want to have any loose ends, especially going into the holidays. You have guests over, you're going to probably have people touching this thing, so you're going to make sure that it's nice and sturdy and so that it's not going to fall apart. Okay, looking good. Okay, let me just make sure that lasts further. Okay, you can see, nice and sturdy. I'm going to give it a pretty serious jiggle there, and you can see everything's hanging on real nicely. Okay, so from this point here, we have all of our sections affixed. Everything's looking real nice here. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and affix our cones. So now with the cones, I've gone ahead and I've taken a wire, so we'll bring this up close here. You'll see there's a little wire that runs through there. I've taken the same wire that I mounted the portions onto this cone, nice and discreet, and we're gonna go ahead and affix them. This is something that's real fun, real easy to do. You can go ahead and just give it a couple of twists here. I'll bring it around. I'm just holding the cone here, giving it a couple of twists to make sure it's not going anywhere. And then we're just gonna leave these loose for right now. We're gonna come around and cut them all at the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay it right down flat again, right here. And so there's that first one here. We're gonna come in with the next one. So I'm gonna go ahead and just hold it right about there. We're gonna come through right here. Perfect. All right, and the reason why I'm keeping the wire loose there, as you can see, there's gonna be a lot of cones that we're attaching, and so we wanna make sure we can still micro adjust right at the end. So the main thing right now is we're just gonna be fixing them on. Okay, there's a big guy right here. Let's see, we're gonna go ahead and apply that one right in the middle here. There we are. Nice touch of fall color, especially to contrast all the bright, vibrant colors that we have going on in the rest of the wreath here. Okay. Perfect. Okay. And then if you notice that maybe that side of the cone is looking a little rough, that's why we're doing it with wires so that you can move it around. You might be thinking, why can we do this with hot glue instead? You absolutely can. Just keep in mind, once you've mounted it with hot glue, you're making that commitment. So just keep that in mind. I like to micro adjust and stuff and make sure that everything's looking real spiffy by the time I hang it. So, I'm doing it with wires, so that gives me the opportunity to micro adjust. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put this cone right down here. So I would like to typically come around 2 of these right here, just because that's going to give me a flat side to mount it onto. If you go around 1, what you're going to see is that it's going to flip and turn around really fast, and that's not going to be as easy for us when we're doing the final wrapping and twisting here. Okay, almost done. We're going to go ahead and connect this one here. We got 1 cone here left. I'm going to put it right here. It's going to give it a really nice fill of dimension there. There we go. So if we take a look here, we'll see there's still a couple of bare edges, and we're going to come around and cover those all in a moment. So I'm going to turn this around for you. You'll see there's a lot of loose wires hanging out right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pair them up. We're gonna find its neighbor and we're gonna go ahead and give them a twist. So just giving them a twist like that. This neighbor here, give that a twist like that. And there's no exact science to this. We're just making sure that they're getting tension from another wire somewhere else nearby. Okay, and then also you're micro adjusting up front as well if you want it to come a little bit more tight. You'll see that my hand's looking a little beat up too with all the scratches from the wire. You're also welcome to wear gloves doing this. You know, it comes in handy, especially with all the abrasive material that you can be dealing with when you're putting these together. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and tuck this wire in here. Tuck these wires in here. You can cut off the excess. I'm gonna do that in just a moment, but we are having another step that we're gonna do, so I'm just gonna give it a pause there. So at this point, with the tension, you know, from all the wires still there, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of micro adjust here. And you know, we have something like this. So now my last step, typically I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the space of the exposed wire and everything with ribbon. So we're gonna come back to that and I'll show you what it's gonna look like after we put the ribbon on. But essentially what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be taking one of these guys. This is a nice burlap type of material here, ribbon. Go ahead and give it a cut here. Okay. And we're gonna save a little length for a bow. That's somewhere in this. But I'm just going to be wrapping it in between my portions here. So this is what it looks like after putting around the burlap ribbon around it. Of course, you can go with whatever color or texture that you like. But I went ahead and chose this one because I thought it was a little bit more earthy and a little bit more neutral for any occasion, Thanksgiving, Christmas, any of it would work. But typically you can hang this just like ahead and straight on the door like this. I typically like hanging it as kind of an offset type of wreath like this. You get a really nice crescent look. You get the flares from the melaleuca there sticking out. Of course, you can trim them down. Now this is my little just kind of last bits of tucking that I like to do. Proteas, in my opinion, are royalty in the plant world, and so I like to make sure that these babies, especially since they came from my own yard, I want to give them their own reverence, and so I'm just going to go ahead and tuck all of my extra additions there just to the side there to make sure that it accents really nicely but not take over the show. You can see instantly there, just tucking it versus not tucking it, it makes a huge difference. Get a huge burst of color. And of course, as these start to dry, they'll hold up to that tucked shape. If you see that it's being a little fussy and it's not holding its shape, you can also readjust that later, or you can actually just remove particular portions. Have a pair of pruners with you. That tends to help. There we go. Just kind of tucking it in there. All right, almost done. One more. Tucking it right here. Give it a little bit of green stuck in between the brown of the cones there. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the wreath here. Goes really nice. You can see if we were to set it here on a white background there, you see tons of color, really beautiful. This is just something that came out of my yard, and so I just took the opportunity to share with you what I would do with such a harvest. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.